Hello, you are watching the Channel 5 on top. The Earth is full of mysteries that have been dazzling the minds of scientists, travelers and adventurers for centuries. Somewhere among the endless oceans, dense forests and ancient ruins, there are hidden places that defy logic itself. Are you ready to go on a journey to the most mysterious corners of our planet? Then meet the top 5 places that humanity is still struggling to solve. In 1985, a sensation flew around the world. On the Japanese island of Yonaguni, in the coastal underwater zone, a semblance of pyramids was discovered. Yonaguni is the westernmost island of Japan, occupying only 88 square kilometers of territory, with a population of 1,581 people. The Anogy Pyramids are a whole underwater complex of stairs, roads and small structures, which are crowned by a 42-meter stepped pyramid, consisting of stone blocks tightly standing next to each other. The overall dimensions of the monolith on which the complex of buildings is located are 200 meters long and 150 meters wide. And its edges on all sides drop vertically down to 27 meters. This creates the impression that the underwater city is on a pedestal. Scientists have managed to determine the approximate age of the Japanese underwater pyramids, 10,000 years. It is generally accepted that 10,000 years ago people still lived in caves and hunted mammoths. In this case, who could have built the Anogy Pyramids? Soon after the discovery, a group of scientists led by Masaaki Kimura from the University of the Ryukyus began studying these formations. Kimura became a strong supporter of the opinion that these formations are man-made structures. During Kimura's expeditions, some artifacts were found: drilled stones with symbols applied, primitive scrapers, a bas-relief of some animal similar to a bull. Another group of researchers visited the Anogy monument only 12 years after its discovery. Based on the results of the expedition, Robert Schoch reported that he considers it a man-made structure. During his visit to the ruins, he did not find anything human in them. Scientists also suggested that the monument, although most likely a natural phenomenon, has some manual processing of its edges. It could have been an ancient quarry or stone quarries. Verdict: scientists argue, but if this is a man-made structure, history will have to be rewritten. The so-called Zone of Silence, Zona del Silencio, is located in the Mexican desert near the states of Durango, Chihuahua and Coahuila in the Mapimi Nature Reserve. Very little is known about this strange area of the desert. The first studies here were conducted in 1964 by chemical engineer Harry de la Peña. He found the zone by accident, when his radio broke down during an expedition, but upon returning to base, the device turned out to be completely functional. There is no military base here that could affect equipment in this way. Therefore, scientists usually associate the suppression of radio and electromagnetic waves with rich deposits of iron ore and uranium. But this does not explain the fact that meteorites most often fall into the zone of silence on the planet. In addition, locals claim that other mysterious phenomena occur here, for example, the appearance of unusual lights that are associated with UFOs. There is another unusual phenomenon in the zone of silence: a magnetic mountain. The first known UFO photo was taken against its background. An eyewitness managed to capture it before the device soared upward and disappeared into the clouds. Tourists report that while in this zone, their phones do not work, their watches freeze, and their compass needles go crazy. Particularly impressionable travelers report strange sensations in their bodies and tingling, as well as creepy mutated rodents and coyotes living here. It is noteworthy that the desert is located between the same parallels as the well-known Bermuda Triangle. Easter Island, also known as Rapa Nui, is one of the most remote inhabited islands on Earth and is famous for its enigmatic moai statues. These massive stone figures have puzzled historians, archaeologists, and travelers for centuries. Located nearly 2,000 kilometers from its nearest island neighbor and more than twice as far from any larger landmass, this tiny island stretches for 25 kilometers in length. Everything about it is shrouded in mystery. Where did its first inhabitants come from? How did they even discover this island? And why and how did they carve more than 600 giant stone statues? The first Europeans to set foot on the island on Easter Sunday 1722 were Dutch sailors, who gave the island its name. There were no historical records of Easter Island, And as the generations passed, oral histories of the islanders' traditions and culture became increasingly vague. And although many wooden tablets with pictograms carved on them have been found on the island, no one has yet been able to decipher these symbols. Because of the great distance from other inhabited lands, an original isolated civilization arose on Easter Island, or Rapa Nui, the secrets of which have not yet been solved. According to the legends of the natives, the island was settled by the Atu Machua clan, who sailed from very distant lands. Perhaps the stone moai are the deified ancestors of the current inhabitants of the island. According to other versions, these are statues of local kings or sculptures of gods. The statues of Easter Island are frowning idols, the nature of which researchers have been debating since their discovery. Moai means idol in translation. Each one is carved from a single piece of volcanic rock according to a single pattern: a long straight nose, pulled back earlobes, hands at the sides, a gloomy expression on the face. Some are installed with astronomical precision, for example, directed at the point where the sun sets during the equinox. The average size of a moai is 3 to 5 meters. Individual specimens reach 10 to 12 meters and weigh more than 10 tons. Historians and archaeologists for a long time could not understand how and why primitive aborigines, completely cut off from civilization, spent the already meager resources of the island, carving giant monoliths, and then dragging them kilometers to the coast. The Plain of Jars. This is the name of a vast plateau in the mountains of northern Laos, at an altitude of 1,200 to 1,500 meters above sea level. The name is not given in vain. The plain is dotted with huge stone vessels with a diameter of 1 to 3 meters, carved from local sandstone, less often from granite, limestone or other rock. Some are half buried in the ground. They weigh up to 6 tons. No other remains of the activities of ancient inhabitants have been found here, but human bones have been found in the jars themselves and near them. On one of the hundreds of vessels, a primitive drawing of a little man is carved, approximately the same as children draw. Currently, about 100 places with similar items in Laos are known, in quantities from 1 to 400, and it is possible that not all have been discovered yet. Modern residents cannot say anything about the origin of these monuments, but there are legends among them that a race of giants once lived here, who brewed rice beer in these jugs and sucked it through bamboo tubes, sitting in a circle around the jug. The first to discover these strange prehistoric cultural monuments was the French geologist Madeleine Colony in 1930. Having found bone fragments, teeth and multicolored glass beads inside some of the vessels, she suggested that the vessels were used for burials. Apparently, the dead were burned. Kalani even found a cave with specially constructed chimneys, which served as a crematorium, and the unburned remains were placed in stone jugs. However, modern archaeologists believe that corpses could have been burned in the jugs themselves, as some peoples of India did at about the same time. The Bermuda Triangle is a graveyard of ships and planes. The first mention of this area of the Atlantic was made by correspondent Edward Van Winkle Jones, who called this place the Sea of the Devil. The phrase Bermuda Triangle was coined by writer Vincent Gaddis in 1964. The Bermuda anomaly causes a lot of controversy. Geophysicists deny the existence of supernatural forces in this area and explain strange phenomena by the influence of natural factors that are poorly studied by science. Supporters of the theory of mysterious disappearances give different versions, from unusual natural phenomena to abduction by aliens or inhabitants of Atlantis. And skeptics say that disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle occur as often as in other areas of the world ocean. The most famous case mentioned in connection with the Bermuda Triangle is the disappearance of a flight of 5 Avenger-type torpedo bombers. These planes took off from the U.S. Naval Air Station in Fort Lauderdale on December 5, 1945, and never returned. Their wreckage was never found. The squadron, consisting of 14 experienced pilots, mysteriously disappeared during a routine flight in clear weather over calm seas. It is also reported that in radio communications with the base, the pilots allegedly spoke of unexplained failures of navigation equipment and unusual visual effects. "We can't determine the direction, and the ocean does not look like usual. We are descending into white waters." After the disappearance of the Avengers, other aircraft were sent to search for them, and one of them, the seaplane Martin Mariner, also disappeared without a trace. In March 1918, The U.S. Navy transport ship Cyclops with 306 crew members and passengers on board disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle. The fate of the ship was not established. Several theories have been proposed to explain the sudden loss of ships and planes by gas emissions, such as the breakdown of methane hydrate on the seabed. According to one such hypothesis, large bubbles filled with methane form in the water, in which the density is so low that ships cannot stay afloat and sink instantly. There is an assumption that methane, once in the air, can also cause planes to crash, for example, by reducing air density, which reduces lift and distorts altimeter readings. In addition, methane in the air can cause engines to stop or explode. It has been suggested that the cause of the loss of some ships, including those in the Bermuda Triangle, may be so-called wandering waves, which are believed to be able to reach a height of 30 meters.